The Sports Tonight here on Sunday. I'm Nguyen alongside our very own Cassie Carlson and ESPN 1000's Jesse Rogers. The NFL season, guys, it's over, but we all know there's truly no off season in the NFL. The phone lines, though, were busy for the Bulls at the trade deadline, and spring training, of course, begins this week down in sunny Arizona for the Cubs and White Sox. Cassie, Jesse, I'll start with you first, Cassie. What are you looking forward to most here?
Well, I am excited for the turning of the page into the spring and seeing especially what the Cubs are going to look like now that they signed Alex Bregman, favorites to win the NL Central. But for me personally, it's NFL season year-round. So the Combine is less than a month away, and that starts the next season where all the hype is around the new coaches, who the Bears are looking at in the draft. So I'm excited to be down in Indy in a couple weeks.
Well, the Bulls can't use all those second-round picks in the next few weeks, so we'll wait on that.
So exciting.
I agree that there's Bears intrigue now between this moment and the start of the next season. There will be. But for me and my day job, I'll be going to Arizona to watch the Cubs and Sox. And you can't confuse activity with accomplishment, meaning that both teams made a lot of changes. Doesn't mean there'll be more wins, but there's intriguing storylines because of those changes. Alex Bregman, world champion, maybe a Hall of Famer coming to the Cubs. The White Sox signing up Munetaka Murakami, a Japanese slugger. What's he going to be? That's just the tip of the iceberg for both teams, so that intrigues me.
He certainly brings some power to that Sox lineup. More on baseball in just a moment. But first, of course, Bears head coach Ben Johnson was a finalist for NFL Coach of the Year and only got one first-place vote among 50 voters, coming in fourth place. Cassie, shouldn't he have gotten more credit here?
Well, I was surprised that he only received one vote, and we learned it was from Dan Pompei, who is based in Chicago. I think we have a little bit of proximity bias probably to Ben Johnson, and since we're around the Bears all the time, we see what he did with this team, taking them from worst to first. I think we feel like, yeah, he probably deserved more votes. I think you can't discredit the job that Mike Vrabel did. They were, a 13-loss team a year ago, now in the Super Bowl with a second-year quarterback, 14 wins. That's impressive in itself. But speaking more on Ben Johnson, I just think that in Chicago, it doesn't matter if he won Coach of the Year or not. Like, the Bears know that they got the right guy. Kevin Byard was in the locker room screaming multiple times, like, they got the coach right, and that's all that mattered. And the most important thing is that they have the coach and the quarterback, because despite however many wins the Bears got this year, despite how far they went in the playoffs, that was the one question that we needed the answer to at the end of the season. We got our answer that these two are going to be working together for a long time, and they have the right pairing in my mind.
There's many years where he would have won the Coach of the Year based on the season he just had. He had strong competition, and it just didn't work out. But I think you're right. No one thinks, oh, my God, he's not much of a coach because he finished fourth. Like, no, he's a good coach. It just happened to be Vrabel had this incredible turnaround. The Jacksonville Jaguars, there was a lot of good candidates. Let's give him credit. It doesn't matter that he finished fourth. It probably just motivates him, knowing him. What matters is what you just said. We know we have a good coach. The whole league knows that the Bears have a good coach, and that's what's most important.
Well, Ben Johnson said just a few weeks ago, right, it's back to square one in the offseason. Ryan Poles knows they're going to have to make some tough decisions here. Fox Sports NFL insider Jay Glazer reporting, though, that Maxx Crosby time with the Raiders is most likely done, even adding that as many as 20 different teams have called Jay, asking him if this is real. Cassie, I'll start with you. Can the Bears really go out here and get a player like Maxx Crosby? Because we know, right, they need another edge rusher opposite of Montez Sweat, but the defensive line in general needs some work.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at this offseason, that's the one area where you're like, all right, if they could have a game wrecker on that defensive line, imagine how different a lot of these games, especially in the postseason, would go, because you look at someone like Jared Verse, how much trouble he was giving the Bears just when they were game planning. And Maxx Crosby is one of those premier guys that is the elite of the elite when it comes to edge rushers. And I think the Bears can go out and get him. It's going to take a large package, including some first-round picks, probably a top-tier player on your roster already. I know a lot of people are wondering if DJ Moore, you might have to go into someone like, could Jalen Johnson be part of that? Because the Raiders are going to need something in return for this, knowing that they have the #1 overall pick. They're going to have a new head coach, and they're in full-on rebuild mode as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because that is going to be a tough decision for whichever team wants to pull the trigger, meaning it's a huge cost. I mean, Crosby's not Myles Garrett, but he's one tier below, and that's still going to cost a lot. And that's the big decision a guy like Ryan Poles has to make. Is this the time to do it? Give up draft capital, give up DJ Moore or Jalen Johnson. It is such a tough call. It's such a need for the team that I think most observers would say do it. Even if you have to weaken yourself a little bit at wide receiver, strengthen yourself at one of the most important positions, rushing the passer. They've had mixed success doing that kind of thing in the past. Khalil Mack and guys like that, Montez Sweat. So you want to make sure the guy's ready to rock and roll. And I think Crosby is, but it's a tough call because it's a huge cost.
Maxx Crosby, a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's got a relentless motor to him. He's really been the face of the franchise here down in Las Vegas. Jesse, would you rather, though, Maxx Crosby or Trey Hendrickson?
Probably Crosby. Probably Crosby because of Hendrickson's age. And just the way things have played out in Cincinnati. I don't know. I have a bad vibe about it. I feel like it's Garrett, it's Crosby, then a guy like Hendrickson. And that's my pecking order.
Yes, too.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
in agreement with that. And also the injury history that happened with Trey Hendrickson this past season makes me wonder if he's, on the back tier. I know he was one of the sack leaders for the last 3 years, but just going through that and having a back injury, that's something that if you're a GM, you want to make sure that he is healthy and he is good to go. And I think that would be a huge concern. I also think the fun part about Maxx Crosby is that there is a mutual respect and fandom between him and Caleb Williams. They have been outspoken about each other. Caleb called him the best rusher he's been against in his career so far. Maxx Crosby raves about him about once a week on his podcast. And so I do think there's interest of Crosby wanting to come to Chicago and be a contender here alongside Caleb Williams. And he could be that missing piece because the window now with the offensive lineman, it's really down to 2 years. So a guy like Crosby, in my mind, could tip the iceberg for the Bears.
Is this Bears defensive line the one weakness that's really holding them back from a true championship run here?
Yeah, I think so, because you look at how rush and coverage work together, and we often pointed to the secondary of having a lot of holes in coverage this past season, but the reality was they just couldn't get consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks who had all day to throw the ball. And so that, to me, is the number one concern, because there's a ton of pieces back in the secondary, but they were just put in poor situations when they couldn't hit home getting pressure on quarterbacks.
I would say, the linebackers didn't perform as we thought maybe, but I would just put the whole middle of the line there in general. I mean, they didn't stop the run much either. There's a lot of yardage between the 20s. Did okay in the red zone, especially because of turnovers. But I'd say however you can stuff the middle there, linebacker, defensive line-wise, is what I'm interested in.
Well, real quick, Bears set to hire Eric Studesville as their new running backs coach. Studesville is a veteran in the NFL. Of course, worked with Ben Johnson down in Miami. Cassie, do you like this hire?
I do like this hire. The filling the shoes of Eric Bieniemy is going to be a huge role for whoever comes in. But Studesville has coached 12 running backs who had 1,000-yard seasons, 4 Pro Bowlers, Marshawn Lynch, all these guys in the history with Ben Johnson. He also has assistant head coach titles. He's been involved in more ways than one. So I think that leadership is going to be important in that room.
The only thing I would add to that is it feels like Ben Johnson's a little bit of a different cat, and if you know him ahead of time, you got a little bit of a leg up. Not to say he couldn't hire a new guy off the street. There's some benefit to that too, a new voice. But I feel like Ben has a certain vibe to him, and if you have a prior relationship with him, that's only going to help.
And by the way, for Studesville, this is his second stint with the Bears, was a quality control assistant back in '97 under Dave Wanstead. And as you mentioned, has coached 12 running backs who have surpassed 1,000 rushing yards, made stops in Buffalo, Denver, and Miami. Getting a veteran guy.
Playing